Welcome everyone to my review of issue 80 of IDW Sonic, and the final part of the Scattered Pieces arc. And as always, before getting started, there will be spoilers from this point forward. At this point I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but in case you're new here, Scattered Pieces is the story arc featuring our heroes, picking up the pieces after the Clean Sweep Inc. saga climax. There were three main storylines the arc followed. First, there's Tails, Amy, and Blaze trying to make sure the Restoration Network doesn't collapse, while getting into some shenanigans involving Surge and Kit. Next, there's Tangle, Whisper, and Silver finally taking out Mimic once and for all. Supposedly, that is. Finally, there's the Sonic and Chaotix plot thread. Since it's the focus of this issue, let's recap what's happening so far. Sonic and the Chaotix are investigating who's now in charge of Clean Sweep Inc. ever since Clutch was exposed and taken by Eggman. They went to the White Park Chateau to find Clutch, who apparently escaped Eggman and is now serving Rough and Tumble. He told the heroes that they've won, and gave them the location of the nearest operational facility to see that it's fully automated. No staff left. In reality though, Clutch is now secretly working under Eggman's thumb. And lets the Doctor know Sonic and the Chaotix are on their way to said facility. He should probably set up a trap for them. Sure enough, as the four heroes approach the facility, one of Eggman's robots is about to attack them. Sonic and the Chaotix are ambushed by the appropriately named Interceptor Super Badnik from Sonic Unleashed. One hit from Sonic, and it retreats back into the trees. SBO camouflages, hoping to ambush the machine himself, while everyone has their backs to each other to keep an eye out for it. The Interceptor emerges near Charmy's location, but it's quickly taken down by Shadow the Hedgehog. He's not alone as Rouge drops in. She was hired by certain parties to see if Clean Sweep Inc. had any other interesting things besides illegal weapons. Shadow's tagging along because he dislikes Clutch's nonsense in general. Probably referring to when he discovered the Chao imprisoned by the possum during the Chao races and Badnik bases arc. Maybe that kick to the head wasn't justice enough in his mind. E123 Omega's not present because this is a more delicate operation than normal, and it's kinda hard to gather intel if things are blown to bits. The Chaotix Pride's clearly been wounded. Vector notes that the mysterious party should have contacted them since they dug up the dirt on Clutch, and Charmy helped expose him. Plus, they can handle anything Shadow and Rouge can, again according to Vector. This back and forth between Rouge and the Chaotix is interrupted by Shadow. You know that Interceptor he just smashed? Well, it turns out it had some friends, because more of these Super Badniks emerged from the trees just like the first one. Rouge believes the interior of the facility is clear if all of its defenses are here, so she heads on inside. SBO follows, so the Chaotix can also get their hands on the intel. From this point forward, the story splits into two threads: the battle outside and infiltrating the facility. Let's first tackle the former since it's short. Vector manages to rip the antenna off the Interceptor, and Charmy somehow manages to successfully hotwire it so he can use it as a makeshift mech. Sonic and Shadow meanwhile are in perfect sync with their movements against a trio of Interceptors. More keep showing up until they suddenly power down. I think we know what happened here, so let's jump back and cover the SBO Rouge plot just to be sure. Turns out the interior is not as safe as previously thought. Nothing SBO can't handle, and Rouge uses one of her heart bombs to blast the way into the computer room. She begins downloading the intel onto two USB drives, we'll learn the reason she has to in a bit, and reluctantly plugs in the Chaotix Chao USB drive so they can get that stuff too. SBO monitors the outside battle, and notices that more Interceptor Super Badniks come online only when the previous ones are defeated automatically, and no one else is around, meaning Clutch is telling the truth about this place being automated. Rouge finishes downloading the data onto all three USB drives, but cannot shut off the defense system. So SBO utilizes his own method, karate chop action. And that's how the Interceptors power down. After regrouping, Rouge informs everyone that the data she's downloaded to hers and the Chaotix's drives are the locations of all the Clean Sweep Inc. facilities, even those that are not public. Shadow right away snatches the USB drive Rouge is holding and plugs it into some sort of tracking device he has. He's going to find and neutralize all these facilities alone. He will keep everyone, though I think he meant Rouge specifically, up to date before he teleports away. And this is why Rouge had a second USB drive on hand. The Chaotix then bid farewell to Sonic and Rouge. This leaves the two to discuss the other mystery that's been looming over the arc, the missing yellow Chaos Emerald. Sonic immediately has his eye on Rouge, but she denies taking it. In fact, she was trying to figure out what happened to the Chaos Emerald she had in her possession. Specifically, the one she stole from the Mineral Museum back in the 2022 annual. With no success thus far, Rouge claims she'll inform Sonic about anything Emerald related before she takes off. And before Sonic leaves as well, he has this brief feeling that someone's watching him, but shrugs it off. Turns out, Sonic's feeling was correct, as a Buzzard Badnik was watching him on someone else's behalf. And it's not Eggman, as we cut to this person's lair, who has a bunch of monitors showing the Doctor, Sonic, Silver, Blaze, Tails, Knuckles, Surge, Kit, Tango, and Whisper. Also, there are images of those giant fake emeralds from the destroyed Eggperial City and Castlevania? Anyway, whoever they are, they have something planned, as it's revealed in the last panel. They have 6 of the 7 emeralds inside what looks like a coffin with a large oval in the middle. A coffin that kinda looks like the ones vampires sleep in. That would explain the Castlevania image. You have to feel bad for the Chaotix. While they did get confirmation that the Clean Sweep Inc. facility is automated, they, along with Sonic, never figured out Clutch was secretly working for Eggman. The closest thing they got was Vector suspecting that the attack was a deliberate ambush, which it was. There's also a running gag of the Chaotix being dismissed by other parties, even though, as we've seen throughout the series, they are more than capable of handling the situation. Rouge's client doesn't hire them, despite being the ones that exposed Clutch, though this was probably unintentional, since whoever hired Rouge was most likely familiar with her. By the way, we never do learn who hired Rouge. The second dismissal was by Rouge herself when she stated that the operation required a more precision touch. But as we saw in this issue, Vector and Charmy were able to successfully hijack an interceptor without too much damage, and Espio effortlessly taking care of the security cameras, as well as providing his own precision touch to disable the interceptors. Though Shadow credits Rouge for the latter. Which brings us to the final moment the Chaotix were dismissed, this time by Shadow. Despite both parties having the same data, and the Chaotix wanting to continue their investigation, Shadow would rather take out the Clean Sweep Inc. facilities alone, though he will keep everyone up to date on his progress. At this point, the Chaotix seem to have just thrown in the towel, though they could still investigate if they want to. We get to see Shadow and Rouge again after a long absence from the main book. Shadow's still the no-nonsense ultimate life form who prefers to work alone, but occasionally he tends to work well with others on a case-by-case basis. Well, ever since effort was made to fix his character. His standout moment, in my opinion, is when he's once again trying to tolerate Sonic's shenanigans. Rouge is still the same spy no one 100% trusts, and is a constant flirt. Though I do say, I like this whole poncho getup she has. Just a hood, with her bat wings providing the rest of the ensemble. There is another reason for Rouge's appearance, and it's to remind us about the ongoing Missing Chaos Emerald subplot. Obviously, someone's taking advantage of recent events to secretly gather all 7 emeralds for some purpose. So, who is this mysterious person? Well, given that they're using at least one badnik to spy on everyone, and they have multiple images of Eggman, Surge, and Kit, it could be a certain not quite dead platypus. Let's temper our expectations a bit. It could be a new villain using egg tech. Clutch was selling them to interested parties after all. Now I'm going to invoke super duper mega spoilers here because It may or may not be relevant to the Emerald's current situation. Small teases for issue 84 recently came out, and it revealed that Eggman's AI daughter Sage will be coming to the comics. And since she appears to be in her post-Frontiers coloring, a time jump might happen between issues 83, which is the conclusion to an upcoming 3-part story arc, and 84. That would mean whoever the Emerald Gatherer is, they'd be screwed because Frontiers had all the emeralds mysteriously pulled to the Starfall Islands, which led to Sonic, Tails, and Amy getting involved, and so on and so forth. Although they could regather them for their plan after the game's conclusion. There is the possibility that the comic is already in the post-Frontiers era. We just didn't know when the game events occurred. If that's the case, I hope the powers that be let us know when it happened in relation to the comics. And then there's the possibility that Frontiers hasn't happened yet by the time issue 84 is published. By that, I mean the Sage we get is the AI Eggman made before he went to the Starfall Islands. We'll have to see. Let's jump back into this issue, shall we? One thing I should point out about the comics in general is that the editors / whoever's in charge of the caption boxes should really do a better job conveying accurate information. I'm specifically referring to this little blurb at the end of Knuckles' story from the 2024 annual, which implies that issue 80 would show Sonic, Tails, and Amy prior to arriving on Angel Island with the damaged tornado. That obviously did not happen in this issue. So whenever the special is put into trade, it better be altered in a way that indicates the events happened in a different issue, or just say the end, and have the trio's misadventure be off-panel or something. Scattered Pieces as a whole does its job of calming the reader down after the big Clean Sweep Inc. climax. It simultaneously rearranges character roles, close some story threads for the time being, keep current plot threads going, and setting up some future material. And there were some small moments I enjoyed, like Vector apologizing to Sonic for the whole Phantom Rider shtick, and this callback to issue 57 from last time. Tango finally getting to use green hover in a way. The road to the comic's next milestone, the big 100, will begin next time with a new story arc involving carnivals, heroes, anti-heroes, and the final Chaos Emerald. I'll see you in issue 81. I'm still baffled about Charmy successfully hijacking the Interceptor. Have we been underestimating his intelligence this entire time?